Harry's wife. Silence becomes betrayal. You are probably aware that to promote the release of the potato print book, Spare, Harry has been told by Harry's wife to do a 60 minutes interview with Anderson Cooper. And a few hours ago, a trailer teaser for that riveting interview was released, just a minute's worth. I haven't included the footage because doubtless it would be copyright issued. If you want to watch it, you can. It's easily found on YouTube. But it's interesting just to take a brief look and run through at what we can learn just from this small snippet. Anderson Cooper kicks off by asking about the fact that Harry and Harry's wife have faced criticism on the basis of them stepping back from the royal family and suggested that they ought to do it privately. And the suggestion is that Harry and Harry's wife tried to do it privately, which is strangely at odds with all the evidence that says they were trying to do it on a half-in, half-out basis. Namely, we'll carry on doing our duties part of the time, but we also want to be able to merchandise them, to which they were given a resounding, "Oh no, you won't. You're either in or you're out, you silly little ginger dunderhead." However, Harry seems to state that they tried to do it privately, which strikes me as a revision of history. And he states that there have been briefings, plantings, and leakings, unlike, of course, Harry's wife and he, who would never, ever brief anybody secretly. For instance, they would never sit down with their communications secretary, Mr. Knorf, and suggest that perhaps some correspondence might be framed in a particular way to, I don't know, tug at the heartstrings. No, wouldn't do that. Or they wouldn't, for instance, basically hand over Harry's wife's diaries to the plastic-faced lieutenant, the improbably named Owen Scobie, and the lady who has disappeared from the planet out of embarrassment, Caroline Durant, and say, look, here's loads of details that it's quite patently clear that you could only have known this because we've told you, but we will actually steadfastly maintain that we never spoke to the authors of this publication, except, oh dear, as a consequence of witness evidence and disclosure, it appears that we have to backtrack on that. But there would never be any underhand, behind-the-scenes briefings by Harry and Harry's wife. There wouldn't be any planting of information out there. Say, for instance, I don't know, ringing the paparazzi, who just happened to turn up in an area where paparazzi ordinarily wouldn't go, to note that one of our Jawas is missing on a shopping trip. No, that would never happen. And leaking information? No. Harry's wife and Harry would never engage in such practices. The hilarious thing is that this dimwit, who is led so readily by his handler and her narcissism which focuses on the moment, thinks that we're all idiots. They really do. He can't work it out because he is drowning in Harry's wife's Kool-Aid. And he can't see that we listen to what he has to say and watch the video and think, Harry, you're contradicting yourself. You're complaining about the very things that you and your wife do. And you evidently think we're all simpletons because we can see straight through all of that. All that happens, they score more own goals, apart from, of course, with the dim-witted Sugars. He goes on about saying that the family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto. Well, I know, because you have a new one, don't you, which is endlessly complain, always whinge. And he says that it's endless through the leaks. He explains to Anderson Cooper that they will have a conversation with a correspondent, and then that correspondent will be spoon-fed information. What, again, a bit like Owen Scobie and Caroline Durant? And at the bottom, they will then say in the article that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment, but the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. And again, Harry and Harry's wife do this. It's obvious with the placing of information about what they've done, where they've been, and the slant that they have the supine publications that have the planting of information. And then, of course, he carries on with this snippet of the whinge fest by stating, so when we've been told for the last 6 years we can't put out a statement to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, silence becomes betrayal. Ooh, very deep. It's interesting, of course, and admittedly it's only an excerpt, so there might be more that's provided in due course in the 60 minutes whinge fest that this is clearly going to be. But there's no particularization again. No names, no instances. The modus operandi, of course, of the handler. Many narcissists operate in the vague. They take refuge in the uncertain because that provides plausibility in terms of assertion of control and also plausible deniability. And Harry, of course, the way that he talks, his mannerisms, are all indicative of the way that he is in effect being trained, being manipulated by Harry's wife. If you closed your eyes and listened to the substance of what's being said, you could imagine her spouting it as well. She has trained him well. It's also interesting, the poor chap has clearly got a bit of the old Bolivian flu, it would appear. He spends quite a bit of time sniffing, even in this excerpt. I do hope he gets well soon. What's clear here is it's the same story being recycled again. Whinge, we've been betrayed, we're the victims, we're going to complain about it again. Once again, where's this privacy? For somebody that wanted a normal life, you spend a fucking load of time on television, I'll say. You're on television more than somebody off Big Brother. Netflix docuseries, Live to Lead, interview ready for the publication of your book. All of these things coming to the fore again. This just shows that this is the glove puppet of Harry's wife, and that he is so bought into the victim mentality that she must issue on a daily basis. It's almost a little bit like in 1984 when they have to all stand in front of the screens and shout and scream at the enemy. You can well imagine that every morning Harry has to stand there and basically be calibrated by his handler so that he regurgitates all of this nonsense. It's not really going to tell us anything new, but we knew that already, that it's going to be much of the same, because they haven't got anything new to say other than we've been put upon, we're the victims, everybody's been horrible to us, please feel sorry for us. This is just a little breakdown of the teaser trailer. Of course, I'll be looking further into the actual interview in due course, but believe me, we're not going to be told anything new. We're just seeing a man who is completely conditioned and controlled by his narcissist wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.